Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021. My name is Karen Bodenschatz. I serve as Associate Pastor at First Lutheran Church in Onalaska, Wisconsin, and this is my morning musing. So on Sunday, I preached on Mark's version of the stilling of the storm, where Jesus and the disciples get in a boat. There's lots of boats around them. This horrible storm comes up, and the disciples wake Jesus up because he's asleep during the storm and say, "Do you not care that we are perishing?" And Jesus gets up, soaking wet too, because he is also being deluged with water. It doesn't seem to faze his sleep, but okay. And he says to the waves and the wind, "Peace, be still." And there's this dead calm. And then after he takes care of the thing that is freaking the disciples out, he looks at the disciples and asks them, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have such little faith?" And the disciples are just in awe of this person who can still this storm, can control weather. And we talked about Jesus in that moment and how Jesus is present even in the storm, how when Jesus talks to them about their fear and their faith, it's not so much an accusation but an invitation to see themselves in a different way and to trust more deeply in who they are and who God is. And so all of that has been rolling around in my head. Sometimes I preach a sermon that I need to hear just as much as everybody else. And so was having that kind of stuck in my head yesterday when I was in a class. And I happened to be sitting right above me in our Four Seasons room because it was a little bit too cold and windy to sit out here on the patio. I was so bummed. And as is usual, when we're trying to learn virtually, it's sometimes hard for the presenter, hard for the learner. And so I was looking out the windows and I happened to be able to see the top of the trees. And it was really windy yesterday. And so I began to notice things I'd never really noticed about trees and how they move when there's wind. And here's what I noticed, and here's what I've been thinking about that. So when the wind comes, it's first just kind of the leaves, and they kind of flutter around. We have some aspen and birch here where the trees just flutter, the leaves just flutter so beautifully. But in these particular, I think they're oak, maybe maple, I don't know. It's just the trees, kind of the leaves on the top, maybe the leaves around. And then as the wind gets stronger, the branches, the littler branches start kind of taking some of the brunt, and then the bigger branches. And if the wind is really, really bad, then the trunk, will start to sway a little bit. But typically the trunk, at least yesterday, stayed still, but the branches around it absorbed all of that energy, and they worked together to keep the tree upright. And we know, of course, that it's also the roots that hold up the trunk, that holds up the branches, that holds up the leaves. And I was just fascinated by how this all worked together. It was quite beautiful, actually, to see it and to watch it. And that got me thinking about just life and the storms that we have faced in this last year. I started to think about the ways that we are called to be community with one another and with those in our larger community. In my class this week, we are talking about race and from a specific angle, from family systems angle. And so that was playing in. But I think oftentimes when we feel battered, we're sometimes the leaf and we're doing it on our own. But then if it gets really bad, there's things that support us in our life that help us stay strong or stay, Leo's got it. There's a chipmunk. Anyways, sorry, very distracted by my cat. But that we could with all of our community around us, be held upright even when we're being battered. So that's what I've been thinking about. I think that's true too when we are helping and walking with those who are oppressed, those who are persecuted. We are the branches and the trunk that help keep them steady as they walk through that. So that's what I've been thinking about these last 24, 48 hours. I hope you are well. I hope you are enjoying this cooler weather here in Wisconsin. If you're on the West Coast, I know you've got some pretty high heat. We feel you. We've been there for several weeks. So enjoy this beautiful day, friends. Be well, be kind. Christ is with you.